we are, exactly like that. Fabulous two expert ladies on the screen. I'm very happy that we have Liz Miller and Jody Spencer with us. Liz was so kind to bribe the cabbie and the pilot of her favorite airline to speed up to be on time in the bar and on air. Thank thieves. Jody, it's fabulous to have you with us as you are one of our favorite experts when it comes to the practices in the real life, in the companies, and what's running around, and to check it up from the reality perspective. Whereas we as industry analysts or all journalists are always under that tricky circumstance. Do they really know what they are talking about? Or do they just presume they know because they, genau, Liz.
No connection to reality whatsoever.
Yeah, well,
why should analysts know what they are talking about?
Yeah, it is the interesting aspect. And as we are talking about, is privacy possible, and do you really want it? That is the challenger in itself, as a lot of people are partly as lazy as I am, and when they are lazy, they do not watch everything what they are freely giving to the world on information, such as convenience / laziness / endangering of your privacy. One interesting topic. And now I would like to invite our two experts, starting with, if it's all right with you, Liz, because you are muted, that Jody starts to introduce herself to the audience a bit, and then we switch over to you, Liz.
Thank you all for the great and kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to be here. I love being here with you guys. Liz, love the miming. This is going to be great. I'll do some sign language with you. We can have the conversation that way. But this was awesome. Yes, I love being here, love talking about, all of the go-to-market and privacy and customer concerns, customer engagement, customer experience. Thomas, going back and forth on those topics. That's another episode we can get into later on.
How about your split soul, being a marketer on one side and a consumer on the other side?
That's a good one.
Where you might have, depending on which hat you put on, you might have different opinions.
Oh, I do.
It's why you have sassy hair like Jody does, so we can wear any hat we want, Thomas.
100%.
Hey, what do you say? I don't even have hair that disturbs.
I am really looking forward to today's discussion. Thank you for the invite.
So are we. Now, a little jump to the left and a jump to the right. And it's not the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but we are nearly in Vegas in such a showcase or a show environment. And with us is fabulous Liz Miller. Now,
hello, everyone. I apologize. I am literally calling in from the bar, like quite literally calling in from the bar. So I apologize to everybody if it starts getting louder. I'm also sitting in front of crazy TV screens where, like, the minute you guys started, it started like flashing. So it feels like I'm in not just the bar, but I'm in the club. So we're just going to call this Club CRM, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to go with it. But it is great to be here with you guys, and thank you. This is, of course, a loaded conversation, right? Because, the funny thing is about privacy is it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Sounds awesome.
It is possible. You just need to be off-grid.
You got to be, like, if you want a full-time job known as privacy, good for you guys.
And you must not use credit cards.
Yeah, don't leave anything. I think you're formerly called a hobbit or something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
I even think hobbits have some
I think
level.
Hobbits probably do. Well, I mean, a big footprint, but Just saying, it might be too early for that kind of nonsense here. And that's just caffeine. But hi, guys. What's up? You're never asking me back. It's official. Like, I'm going to do everything.
So you say being not a hobbit and not going to be in the Eremitage or going for a cave 0 or 40, no connection to anything is not really the thing to go for. So what is your suggestion for what is privacy for purpose and in the area? What can we understand on the privacy, what we would like to go for and challenge a bit from and look into from several sides and perspectives?
I'll throw out the first lob, and Jody's going to have a far more intelligent lob to throw after mine. Trust me. I think there's a difference when you start to use the word privacy from what a business wants to accomplish and privacy from what a consumer or what the user wants to accomplish, right? So if we look at it from what a business wants to accomplish, privacy should mean doing the most for your customer or for your user with the least. Right? Like, how can you deliver the best experience with the least amount of information and then progressively build from there based on how that person, that individual would like to then traverse and would like to have their own privacy revealed, right? It should be something that is fairly flexible, but it should start with the bare minimum instead of what we tend to do in business, which is try to start with the absolute maximum. Like, we want to start with the biggest mountain of data and all the things, and we want to know all the stuff. And we want to have a 360-degree view of our customer, right? Which is like the creepiest thing I've ever heard of. Like, not even an owl turns its head 360 degrees. Like, it's weird to want that. But I think there's a difference. And I think where privacy has taken this really weird left turn is that we have misunderstood what view we are trying to get a 360-degree view of, right? It's not a 360-degree view of every single thing our customer does. So we're creepy and we sit there and we're obsessed and we're weird and we look at every single thing that we do and we're gonna take all that data and we're gonna be really gross. It's about, do we have a 360-degree view of ourselves, of our own businesses, of our own organizations, so that we know all the places that individual is not only touching, engaging, leaving data with, but is also giving us the thumbs up and the signal to say, hey, this is what privacy may mean for me today or in this moment, right? It's to have that 360-degree view of how they want to be engaged with, where they are engaging, so we can have a better conversation using as little as possible, right? Privacy for the consumer, on the other hand, changes minute by minute. I mean, to be honest with you, 1 minute, people are like, why don't they understand what I just bought? I've been a customer for 10 years, and I don't understand why you just made me go to 17 different agents, and you didn't know exactly what I bought 15 years ago. And then the next minute, they're like, you can't have my data. You can't follow me. No tracking, no cookies. So, privacy is really hard to kind of nail down unless you come at it with a tenet of, this is the most I want to do with the least that I can have. But Jody, again, I'm just going to be quiet.
Well, first I have to comment that you're hurting my marketer's heart and talking about a non-360-degree view. That just,
hey, let's be very honest.
Went out.
I'm a marketer for 30 years. This is my 30th year in marketing. So I am a marketer. You know, I'm like, wait a minute. That's
breed of marketer, perhaps.
Those are my people.
But I do agree with you in that 360-degree view could be narrowed down to the view that makes sense, right? And you said something that is near and dear to my heart in terms of when I'm talking to customers and their customers. You, as a company, we want to make sure that we are providing those individuals the experience, giving them ways to engage with us that make sense in what they want. But to your point, right, people become so afraid of there's so many things that are misleading about how companies use data, what you're giving up. I mean, there's this fear, right? So people immediately, I don't want to be followed. I don't want to be tracked. I don't want you to know where I am. But then, by the way, stop serving me ads that aren't relevant to me. Stop sending me content that's not helpful. Well, you cannot have the best of both worlds, right?
Let's put it onto another premise, Liz. Good morning.
That's okay. You can call me Liz. That's okay. I'll
Sure, sure.
pretend I'm the expert.
Lisa
Been
and
on a
Jody,
boat for 2
He's,
too many people here
he
from me.
just
So
said
for
on
a simple,
prem, and I gotta
simple
go
guy,
now. I gotta go. I can't. I gotta go.
why not putting yourself into a position that an ad is irrelevant in itself? Any ad.
Because that's foolish.
Why?
It's a childish statement. I'm gonna be really mean and
I'm
honest
just,
about it
be
the
mean. I'm not awakened, so it's all good.
reality is that at some point in your life, you have not only wanted, but you have sought out that type of information. Whether you have acknowledged that it was an ad or whether you just passively saw that it was an ad, you engaged with it. It is a fool's errand to say, I've never been influenced by advertising. You just aren't.
No, the point is you're influenced too much by advertising.
But even to the point of discounts and deals, right?
Yeah.
Who go out and look for discounts and deals, and hey, could you give me a code? I mean, even in this idea of community-led growth, you see it all the time. Hey, who has a code for XYZ? I mean, we want that benefit, but we don't want the vehicle in which that is presenting us the benefit, right? So it's
at the end of the day, it always comes down to, and I think it's really important to define. I mean, as important as it is to define what privacy is, Jody's hitting on a really important point here, which is it's almost even more important to truly define what value is. Because at the end of the day, all of our customers, whether they are consumers in a B2C lens, whether they are buyers and specifiers in a B2B lens, they are all seeking value. And here's the funny thing. I mean, I spent way too many years surveying both of those audiences and asking the question, what is value? How do you define it? And for as many times as I've asked that question, it's come down to 3 simple things. Every time, 3 simple things. It saves me money, it saves me time, or it gives me something back that I want in my day. Okay, it's never, oh, it's funny. It's never, it was super cute. Like it's never any of that. Like, oh my God, it was so self-aware. It's never that. It's always, it saved me money, it saved me time, it brought me something back in my day. Right? Now, if you can hit all 3, marketing gold, right? Marketing gold, because you know your customer so well, you know your brand so well, and you know your channels so well that you can deliver all 3 in one fell swoop. However, most people are really just seeking one. And the trick about what Jody's talking about, the hard part for marketers and the art of what marketing truly is being able to understand and pick up on the signal of which of the 3 someone wants right now. And that might just be in a funny ad. You just might be cruising YouTube and you're looking for something funny. And if you gave that person one little giggle in the day and you gave them a moment to relax, that's value for them. And they're going to remember your brand for it. It might not be advertising that drove to an 800 number that was really obnoxious. Sure. Right? But sometimes that 800 number gets you a discount, and maybe that's what that person's looking for. So it's not so much about the advertising or the channel, it's about the signal. And so what Jody's talking about is how do you get to that signal that identifies what privacy is and what value is in that moment? And marketing's job is how do we bring those 2 things together?
Humorous advertising was such a serious topic that there had been a master work on that in a German university in the days when I still was studying. And that is so interesting to see that.
I have a question.
Echt?
I need you to
don't
rewind.
have these funny cards,
No, I don't have cute little cards. I don't travel with those. But I do. It's a very important question. I think Jody and Marshall, I'm going to ask this for the 3 of us. I'm sorry. There was a university course on humor in a German college.
That's
Did you just say that to me?
That's a
Did you
contradiction
just try
in
to
itself,
sell
right?
that to this lovely audience? Because ain't nobody buying.
It wasn't for credit.
Okay.
It was an elective.
It was an elective.
And Germans don't have humor. They didn't understand the course.
Or electives. That's fine. Whatever.
Well, anyhow, they took it serious and analyzed a lot of humor in advertising. And it came to a finding, which is, as you just said, people are valuing and grateful for a giggle a day. And they have something positive in their brains, which is not disengaging them in not buying, such as it is driving them forward, such as, that was the brand where I giggled about. Yeah. So if you can then save money, as you said, and make my day because it is something sweet and not a detergent. Yeah. So I wouldn't like to have humor in advertising for detergents. Yeah. But in cars, especially in Italian ones, which are rusting their way through life, you need humor in the advertisings. Yeah. So in the good old days, one brand was very famous for, at least they had cool advertisements. Fiat. Yeah.
Well, Germans aren't completely without humor. Once upon a time, there was the Volkswagen Carmen Ghia.
The ladies' car.
Yeah, the advertisement for that, where it's driving down the salt flats and it's going to push through like one of those paper target walls. It hits the paper and it just stops. No power at all.
I think that when we talk about using humor, it becomes a little bit challenging for marketers. Oh, we lost Liz. I wanted her to hear this because I'm sure she was going to have some commentary on it, but I'll repeat when she comes back. When you use humor, not everyone finds the same things humorous, and it could be dangerous territory. However,
Welcome back.
Hello, I'm so glad you just came back because I'm bringing up a point, Liz, and I want your take on this, right? Using humor when you market could be dangerous because, again, not everybody finds the same thing humorous. And I think as marketers look to try and come up with new ways to get people thinking about their product, their service, their solution, we're trying to tap into a lot of different emotions, whether it be funny, whether it be sad or emotional. I mean, I'm thinking about, I just watched a commercial last week from a huge PG organization, brought me to tears, was so emotional. It had nothing to do with the product that they were selling. I was talking about it for days afterward, right? And as I was having this conversation, it was actually, I'll just say it was a Dove commercial. I was talking with friends about this commercial because of the story behind it. They all started going out and looking at right. So tapping into that emotion as well. There's really a balance, because I do think that there's the right place for it, but we have to be cautious with how we use it, and we also have to have a really decent handle on our audience. What percentage of them do we believe we are going to attract or offend with using the humor or the emotion?
There we are back to usage of data, by the way. Whom to serve this ad to, and how to identify.
But I also think it. I think it also. I mean, Jody, it's an amazing point. I also think it has to tie and have relevance to the brand and what is at the core of what your brand mission and vision is. Dove is always a really interesting example, because Dove as a brand is this, they have always been focused on the true beauty campaign, right? They look to empower women. They want to have, real women in their advertising. They want to empower young girls to have positive body image. It's this really wonderful message when you look at what their brand is. But then when you realize that they are also part of Unilever, and Unilever is the parent company to Axe being probably one of the most
the Viking
misogynistic
optic thing,
right? Like where you're like, oh, optics. So you have those two brands together. So if you go onto the Unilever brand channel and you're looking at their content, you're looking at their advertising, and you start to look at all these messages, you start to wonder, like, hey, Unilever, like how close are you understanding that people see all this together? I mean, it's a very complex issue. I think creativity is an increasingly complex issue. Content is a complex issue. But here's the thing. I think what ends up happening is, especially in the world of technology, we like to diminish what a marketer has to juggle in the data, in the signal, in the content, in the creativity, in the, in the understanding your customer and having, possibly 5 different paths of advertising so that you can serve the right thing to the right person through the right channel. That whole concept of precision marketing of right time, right place. It's not easy, right? And people love to be like, oh, well, AI can do it. I'm like, good luck. I mean, when was the last time, Jody, I have a question for you because these 3 aren't going to have an answer for me. When was the last time you witnessed in a creative brief any executive being so precise, being so exact, being so wonderful with their prompt that the creative agency just came back with brilliance in one try?
Never.
Ding, 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 ding. I think all of our jobs are safe. Because, you can go into AI and be like, I need an ad and I want it to be funny.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah, congratulations. That's as great as going in and asking anyone in the CRM system, tell me more about my customer. Right. So it's the same. It's the same give and take, right? But I think that's where, coming back to the privacy issue for a second, I do think that that is where the rubber meets the road, right? Because once you get that definition of privacy and what privacy means for your organization, what privacy may mean for your regulatory bodies and the organization you're in, but what privacy also means to your customer, you can start to weed out the signal from the noise. Because what you start to do as an organization is train the organization to be hyper focused on signal as opposed to all the stuff that you create in noise. Because if you start to use privacy as your guiding light for how you want to engage, where you're going to engage, you value what your customer thinks of as their privacy. You start to understand that actually doing a lot more with maybe more precise data, with more exact data, with data that's really relevant to what you want to do to create a profitable, lasting, durable relationship with your customer, you start realizing you don't need all the noise. You need the signal. So that's when you start to look at solutions like a CDP. You start to say, hey, does my CRM go into my CDP? Hey, where you start to ask different questions of your systems and your tools and your integrations so that you get more high fidelity signal so that privacy isn't just a checkbox on compliance. Privacy is where you started. And that's what brought all your data together. Am I adhering to what my customer wants? And am I adhering to what my brand value and vision is? If I am a very serious brand that has no room for humor, don't start pelting people with irrelevant ads in every single channel, even though they've said, do not contact me, with funny ha-ha ads. Like, hi, don't.
It's an interesting take that I have to admit I didn't quite think of before today. Privacy isn't just leaving customer data alone, it's knowing when not to bother them.
And not hitting the thought to be emotions / positive emotions with something which gets them upset in creating negative emotions in them. Yeah.
Sometimes negative emotions are not bad though, Ralph.
I was just going to say that.
You
Yes.
remember them as well as you see the dentist and he pulled a teeth. Yeah, it's pain. It's like you spend too much money. It's in the same area.
But see, you say that to me, but here's the thing. You say that to me and say you don't want something to remind you of when you went to the dentist and got your tooth pulled out. But I'm sitting here thinking, if I was an insurance company, I sure as heck want you to remember that. Because what I want to remind you of is that was so painful that what you should actually be looking at is preventative care so that you never have to experience that pain again.
Well,
or toothpaste.
Who has the more valuable campaign, right? It's like there has to be a reason. And I think what Jody's point is, I think is still it's super important. And I love that she said it, right? It's you really have to have that strategy and understand not only the what, but the why. Why are you deploying that campaign? Are you deploying it just because you want to be funny? Or are you deploying it because humor is a vehicle that you know gets you to a durable, profitable relationship? If the answer is yes, I mean...
What prevents businesses from doing this highly targeted, precise marketing?
what prevents?
Yeah, why aren't they doing that?
Why are they instead deliver shitty stuff?
It's like the most loaded question. Jody, I want to just be like, I just want to look at you right now, Jody. I'm not looking at anyone else. And I just
Like right now in my head, I have a billion things going on.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
Thomas, when you throw a question out there, you don't start small, do you? You're like,
nah.
He goes for the throat.
I don't sweat the simple stuff. I leave that to Ralph.
Danke! I was waiting for that one. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
love you.
That's why you got it.
okay. So here's. I believe that we are doing a much better job of being able to get different signals, read those signals, and turn around the right campaigns, the right information, the right ads. And I want to be really careful because it's not all about ads, right? And that's one of the misconceptions.
Yeah.
Marketing is not ads.
Was coming to that as well. Yeah.
Right? Come on, Liz, give me that. Marketing is not, we are not, this is not where we're going out there and throwing up some creative briefs and throwing images out on television and Google. It's so much more complex. And I think we really are doing a much better job of delivering the content that individuals want. I do think that there's responsibility on both parties, though, too, here. Okay. So, yes, as a company, I am responsible for making sure I am reading those signals. I am collecting those signals the right way with permission, and I'm acting on them. As a consumer, I also have a responsibility to, make sure that I'm giving the right information. How many times do we, I'll look at all of you. How many times do you go out to a website and you sign up for something under one particular email with a profile? You go to the website, a different website, and you, all in the same vein, you fill out information under a different email with a different profile, right? And now I'm coming back into this system with 3 different profiles. I look like 3 different people. I'm getting irritated because Jody Spencer sending me an email to profile number 1 with this offer and profile number 2 with this offer, and she doesn't know, who I am or what interests me.
Got onto that. The main. So I admit all the time. So and
Shocking,
why?
Thomas.
And I'm such a bad guy. I'm such a bad guy. So
surprised.
What's a reason or a main reason for that? I am forced to sign up to a bloody newsletter that I don't want just because I want a piece of information now.
But you're not
forced. No one's forcing you. You can just go to this Google entry.
I may die.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Right. If I want information from my customer,
here's the thing.
Prefix plus something.
This is what I'm going to say. A lot of times, so I think there's been a natural evolution in the world of marketing, and if we look at the role, even just of the chief marketing officer, that evolution has happened fairly quickly, right? So you're not talking about a role in business that has been evolving for 100 years since like Ford was president of his own company, right? Like this is a role, and this is a practice and a function that has been around, yes, for a long period of time. But I think the idea of precision and where we are with the complexity of what marketing truly is as a growth engine for the modern, modern enterprise is truly something that has been an advent of, let's say, the last 15 years, legitimately. Is there a lot of bad marketing out there? Yes. But that bad marketing is often actually produced because of really bad process and even worse expectations, right? So let me give you the example. Thomas, the function that you just talked about, like I'm forced to fill out this form, I'm forced to sign up for this newsletter because I just wanted to get that piece of information, right? Well, if you think back as to why there is that gate on every single thing that most looks interesting on a B2B website, let's just talk about this from a B2B perspective for right now, right? If you talk about that, I'm telling you right now, there's been at least 100 meetings that involve a poor marketer that has just sat there and been like, we have to ungate our content. Consumers expect to just be able to get to our content. There are other ways we can find out who this person is and profile them and then someone in sales says, but we need leads. You know, or someone in operations says, we need leads. If we can't get leads if we don't have a form, right? And so we have this maniacal conversation where all these different parts of the organization then goes in and says, we can't possibly value marketing if we can't count the number of leads and how many of these accounts are marketing influence leads. And so we put all of these pressures and all of these processes on it. And the reality is that this all starts from someone just having a need, right? We want the business to grow, and here's how we can track it. So if everyone started from moment one and had a sane conversation and said, listen, today's B2B buyer, this is what they want, and we built and architected from there in a perfect white paper state, oh my gosh, you'd be an analyst.
I'm going to say, you know, I want to just add, I want to throw away the marketing influenced concept entirely, because I 100% Liz, right? Marketing influence, the act of marketing, I'm being very careful with how I word this here, is influential at every piece of the customer's journey, pre, post. There is not one area,
and into ownership.
Where
it's thread.
Yes, it is. There is not one element of a customer's journey that marketing has not influenced in some way. So let's just throw that term out and never use it again, right? I think what we need to start talking about is, to your point, Liz, right? Those discussions internally. I'm going to go and say, I think it's 150 conversations that are happening internally, and where you're saying, I don't want a form, or take off the phone number because nobody wants a phone call. At a minimum, like just an email, right? Or not a business email.
How many of us have 867-5309 as their phone number?
Yes.
Or Donald Duck at Quack Quack Way, and then you wonder why I keep sending you ads about ducks.
You know, the request was sent by Dagobert Duck, trust me, or Donald, his friend.
So when we start thinking about this in a holistic view of the customer and also the customer journey, it is weaved into every action, and everyone needs to be on board and sharing information and collaborating and setting up those processes for success at the very beginning. People should be sitting down at a table and understand, what is the goal? How are we achieving it? And what support am I going to get? Because here's the thing, right? Content is key. Marketing is not the best source to produce all content that is going to drive customer engagement. And to sit around and say, okay, sure, here's a test, take off the form. And then suddenly you don't have that thought leadership piece. And that's another word that I really hate. I really want to do away with that one too. But I'm just reinventing the dictionary here. I'm just getting rid of a ton of terms.
It's fine. I'm good with it. I'm here for it, Jody.
And you remind me of a very important aspect, Jody. You were the advocate who was in our CRM conversation when, during the pandemic, we had the reflection on that the complete buyer's journey and the buying behavior has changed, that we have a complete different set of decision-making people which need to be informed or influenced or getting on our side and to get into their understanding as buyers and not as customers. And now we have two interesting aspects to look into a journey. And now just give me an example, Liz. You are invited to participate in that one, as who in the world has a cool buyer's journey approach with a buying center visualized in his crappy CRM system?
Just
me too.
No one. I mean, like, did you just ask me if someone has a cool visualization of a buyer's journey in their CRM? Yep. Is that the question?
He did.
Yep. No one. And if someone came to me and was like, "Oh, I've got a cool visualization of my buyer's journey in my CRM, I would go smack them on the top of their head and say, that's for one customer, right? That's for one persona. That's for one person. Good for you. Congratulations. How many customers do you have?
2.
Like yeah, like if you have 2 customers, you have 2 really cool buying journeys, and you have 2 really cool visualizations.
No,
Job done. Let's
I'm
go home.
selling nuclear
I
power
think,
plants. Then I definitely have only 3 buyer
right, but then you have
personas.
10. You know, like then you have 10 buyers, but then you also have 1,000 influencers. So I think the reality here is
a million people
are wanting to. I think what Jody and I are both saying, and Jody, correct me if I am somehow not, like, I think the both of us are on like the same boat paddling in the same direction here, is the reality here is that we are trying to apply very old thinking that involves systems and workflows and charts, and let's get around, and it goes through this one funnel, and we have a linear funnel, and it's a linear buyer's journey that can come from that, and I can modify it in 10 different ways, and now I've got 10 official. That doesn't apply. It didn't even apply back then. It's all we could do back then. Yay us, but we can do more now, and we can do better now, and I think that has opened up opportunities for marketers to be able to realize one very critical thing. And if I've said it before, I'm going to say it a million times. Hell, I'm even going to write a piece on it. At this point in today's business, marketing is a shared service. At the end of the day, and for most technology folks, this seems to make sense to them and gets everybody off of this. Oh, but marketing does this horrible stuff, and they're advertisers. I hate forms. Okay. At the end of the day, if everyone in the wide world of customer experience, and yes, I do mean customer experience, 3 horsewomen of the apocalypse, sales, service, marketing, racing towards profitability together, right? So if we've got the 3 horsewomen running towards profitability, our goal as a CX unit is to create durable, profitable relationships with our customers, right? And that is not only going to include through the prospect phase of that organization, but through their ownership experience. Yes, we can talk about their customer experience and their transaction journey and all of those great things, but at the end of the day, we don't want to just drop the ball once they transact. We want them to be profitable owners. We want them to be profitable lifetime customers, right? So it's about the durability of that relationship and the durability of those, opportunities and of those journeys. So when we start to look at the act of sales, which can happen anywhere in an organization, and the act of servicing, which can happen anywhere in the organization, but tend to be in 2 wonderful centers of excellence, known as sales and known as service, marketing becomes a shared service, right? It is a composable shared service, right, that everyone can pull from. Because to Jody's point, content isn't just created in marketing. The best content isn't just created in marketing. The best content resonates with the customer. So sometimes the best content comes out of customer service. It comes out of the call center, right? So if you are creating anywhere, you need a shared service known as marketing that can look at that content that was created and say, ooh, okay, here's how we need to make sure it ties back to our brand, to our strategy, to our experience strategy, to our shared CX strategy, so that we can not only take that great content, we can replicate it and use it across all of these different personas who may need just something a little bit different. We are the shared service that is the translation engine. Think of us like a large language model known as marketing, right? We are the ones that bring in all of that data and take those prompts and turn them into those avenues, opportunities, and experiences that deliver those profitable, durable relationships with our customers, right? So if you start to think of marketing as a shared service instead of the coloring in department, I promise you are going to get so much better result, but you're also going to be able to look at your data and your technologies and your systems differently. Marketing, shared
I'd
service.
like to make one modification to your term. I'd like to add the word strategist in there, because I think we are marketing strategy and services, and I think that's a key differentiator for different departments to think about, because to your point, Liz, right, we don't want to sit in our silo. We are more effective when we cross departments, break down those walls, and as opposed to just giving them materials or producing different assets for them. We're in those discussions, right? We're having those strategic discussions in what can be created or developed throughout the company. And I think once we start really stop thinking about marketing as a department, right? To your point, Liz, we're not. We are horizontal across the board, but we are strategists and services and leverage your marketing team, right?
Yes.
Leverage us in those discussions.
Yes.
And
Leverage us for growth, right? Leverage us for growth.
Yes. Let's face it. Our go-to-market strategies have changed, right? It's not just event-led growth anymore. It's not, the advertising. You have community, you have partner, you have product-led growth. Think about those three areas with regard, right, to the topic we're talking about today, privacy.
Well, I mean, I think people spent so much time trying to own it, right, Jody? Like, remember, like 10 years ago, we marketers ran around being like, we own CX, and then everyone got fired because we don't own it, right? Like, CX is the strategy, and to your point, I think marketers are really best suited to be the orchestrators and to be, it's like we're the orchestra conductor of that enterprise-wide team sport strategy known as CX, right? Because we can see across the enterprise, but we can also see across the customer. And I think it's that capacity to be able to synthesize all of that in rapid scale and effectively that makes marketing truly sing and hum. And I think you see it in lots of different places and spaces. But if you keep thinking of it, Jody, to your point, exactly, you think of it as a department, well, then that's the group you go to with like a menu and you're like, I want a white paper, I want a webinar, and I want a thingy.
Right.
I want a thingy, and I'm going to have it do a this and a that and a that. And then now you got forms coming out the wazoo and you're not doing anything.
Right. As opposed to I want this, and this in terms of assets. How about I want to simplify the way that my customer engages with my product. I want to make it quicker, for them to get up and running. I want them to find the support materials they need easier and let them self-serve. That's a discussion I could get around and help
also
create
being
assets.
God, Ralph, I thought we were talking about privacy today. I mean, what the hell, Ralph?
We went totally down a tangent.
Can't be.
What are we doing here? I don't.
Because I really wanted to
privacy conversation.
I know I was all primed up to talk about what I think. Right,
ladies,
fear of missing out.
It's so cool. In sales, I would say we have a comfort problem. We have too much money in the bank. We have such brilliant knowledge.
Is there something like too much money?
Yeah.
Having too much.
We do have a fantastic flow, and starting just by one little teaser. And I'm curious, as privacy has developed itself over the years in the attitude, and going back to the pandemia, when people were looking for some communications, then was your experience that they opened up and were more willing to share information, or were they more cautious?
I think there was a mix. I think there was definitely two different camps. I will say I think people were willing to give up some information without really thinking about it because they needed to solve a problem where normally they could walk into a brick and mortar place and get their solution. They could, right? They had to change the way that they went out and purchased products or got services. I also think there is this level, like if you think about what happened, we developed solutions so rapidly to accommodate for this change. And there's some really cool stuff that came out, right? And everyone wanted to jump on and give me that tool. Let me try that tool. I want to be in the know, like this fear of missing out. I don't want to not be in the know. I mean, it just happened recently, right? There was an application that came out and there was over 100 million users who jumped on pretty quick. Let's talk about that with regard to privacy. Suddenly, there was this realization that, wait, I just signed up.
Which of the two really quick
which
risers do you mean? There are two recently.
Well, let's talk about threads. Threads came out. You had over 100 million users jump on and do that application or do the app. And now all of a sudden you're hearing all about the privacy nightmares because again, people didn't read. It's not that they were keeping that hidden. It was right there in the open, what you were giving,
And the T's and C's,
what you were agreeing to. But we as consumers, like, I cannot miss out on this. I got to see what this is, right? And we were willing to give that up. And now
Lensa is another great example of that, right? Remember way back, I mean, a year ago and the way beyond previous times, Lensa, the AI large diffusion model, that came out, and you could upload your pictures. And the more pictures you uploaded, the better these incarnations of these illustrated avatars, the AI would create. And in the T's and C's, it said, listen, we value your privacy. Any image that you upload, the minute you tell us, we'll pull them out. They're yours. They're your property. You own your images. Oh, by the way, pay us $4 and you can get the best avatars. You're going to look so awesome. You're going to look like an astronaut. You look like an athlete. It's going to be these amazing illustrated avatars of yourself. If you didn't read all of the T's and C's, you would have missed something really important. The images you uploaded, the photographic images of yourself, are your property. But all of the incarnations of you that AI created was Lensa's property. And the $4 you paid them was for a restricted rights assignment. So you had the rights to use their 4 images, but you suddenly became training fodder for the model. And when people started realizing that, they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean you're not taking away all of my images of me? And Lensa said they're not images of you. They are graphics that AI created. And all of a sudden, their user, it was like, dude, like top #1 app on like the App Store. And then within 30 days, they crashed. It was crazy. But the reality is that when you talk about, when you start to talk about what happened during the pandemia, which everyone feels free to, Ralph turned it into a party, which I appreciate about that word. I think that something really interesting also happened, and it didn't happen because of the pandemic. It happened because of a lot of perfect storm forces that are happening just in the world today. Privacy became political, where you suddenly had the word privacy be charged, especially here in the US and in Canada. You have the word privacy now being this kind of politically charged idea, right? The government's coming to find all this information about you and you can't know all, depending on which camp you are in, what your political leaning is, what your media consumption patterns are, suddenly you found yourself sometimes in a very politicized conversation around not only what data was, but what privacy was. So all of a sudden, you now have this idea that privacy is either a right or it's something that's being stolen from you, right? Like it's something that I should intrinsically have. It's something that people are stealing. So we're walking a very fine line now. But again, I think it comes back to, are you willing to have the conversations within your organization of what privacy should mean for your business and for you? Or are you going to be one of those nefarious organizations that does not care, right? And let's be honest, there are lots of organizations out there that just do not care, right? They can have pretty things written on their walls about doing no harm all they want to. But, I think for right or for wrong, they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to behave with data the way that they want to behave. But I think that what the pandemic really did was it shined light on both the good and the bad. We had already been there, I think, for marketers. And Jody, tell me if you think I'm totally wackadoo off base on this one. But I think that we started for marketing, like CIOs kind of got the brunt of like, oh gosh, GDPR is coming, and oh my God, what is it going to mean for the rest of the world and all these conversations. And like marketing, we suddenly got the memo maybe 3 months before enforcement was about to happen, and all of a sudden we got a crash course, right? But the good thing about that is we got a crash course from both the CIO and the CISO, right? We got it from the people who knew technology and data the best, and the people who knew privacy, and the people who knew identity, and the people who knew security the best. So when we got that crash course, we got it. It was like the avalanche came and it hit marketing smack in the face. And we got a crash course of what it meant for us, what it meant for the organization, not just to define privacy and data, but to define who that working group was going to be, so that we could have more informed conversations to understand why being ahead of something like GDPR actually gave us an experience advantage. And for marketers who saw that, all of a sudden the lights went on, right? They were like, wait a minute, I can work with my CIO and my CISO I can work with all the goals of our organization to still have this growth strategy, to be respectful of people's data, to be ahead of the regulation curve, and not have to worry about this again. Those are the brands that got privacy right, and they continue to get privacy right to this day, so that when you see new regulatory issues come out, when you see new AI regulations, when you see new data, CCPA turns into CCPR, alphabet soup, we're still ahead of that curve because we got that three-legged stool going. We could go in and have those really informed, really detailed, data-rich decision conversations with our CIO and with our CISO to say, hey, how can privacy be profitable? We knew about those conversations because we got involved in GDPR conversations at the time that we needed to and had the avalanche that we had to. But I think that, we'll start to see some of that even out and not be so painful, hopefully.
You just sent me into an anxiety phase when you said the words GDPR. It's bringing back really bad memories. I remember those crash meetings.
I do too.
Well, they will come back soon, trust me.
Marshall.
Yeah.
The chairman says ominously.
I'm very worried now when you just lobbed that over to Marshall.
Yeah. When you said ways to make privacy profitable, that made me wonder, is it possible that maybe that's the issue itself, that businesses are looking for ways to make privacy profitable as opposed to making it be a consumer right?
I think that those two are completely different conversations, because something that is a consumer right is a very big social discussion. It brings in all of that political stuff. When I say the words making privacy profitable, I don't mean try to gain privacy so that you can make more money. I'm saying look at the ways that people are making more money because they're delivering exceptional experiences that have privacy at the core of all of those conversations and are now emanating signals that are so much more rich, are so much more relevant, are so much more contextual, that you're actually able to deliver a better experience in a smaller dose. You're able to go back and look at that data and reassess strategy, reassess content, reassess everything that you are doing operationally, right? When people say, I want to make privacy profitable, they just mean I want to send out more emails, right? That's not the way you're ever going to be profitable, right? Email batch blasting so that you can be successful 20% of the time and pretending that somehow is a winning strategy is not. It's just not. Seasoned marketers like Jody, they understand that is not a winning, successful strategy. But if you take privacy at the core of your strategy, of your growth strategy, right? And that becomes how you are going to then look at profitability. So that you are sending out less and you're actually getting more in return. That's profit.
Because you're monitoring those signals the right way and taking those signals and leveraging the data.
So what are... There are university studies out there that basically say companies that are adhering to GDPR principles are losing business as compared to what they had before. So this means that if I follow your argumentation, which I don't think is wrong, by the way, that these companies who are saying that they are losing, doing something wrong. What are they doing wrong then? Or what are they thinking wrong then?
I think it's a fair question. I would start by saying, because all university studies are so accurate and ask the best questions.
Starting with that, well, they're hopefully asking better questions than the next best marketing agency charged with the same questions.
Doubt it. Have you seen survey questions? I used to write them for a living, for God's sake. But let's set that aside. I would say that probably if I were to go in and dig into that data and look at those companies that are saying that they are getting less business. Again, what they mean is they're getting less leads. They're getting fewer people opening emails. That is not
less profitability was their statement.
Right, but they're looking at profitability because they got more leads, and I sent out more emails to more unsuspecting poor victims, strangers, and I got more of those people to open up the emails, and because I can always get 22%, that means I've got 22% rolling through my system. So I don't have to change sales. I don't have to change processes. I don't even have to change product, because I'm just going to get 22%. And you know what? 8% of that is going to convert. Boom, I got money. Yay. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to do the hard stuff. Well, of course they lost business, right? Because they didn't change their operations or their processes to go hunting for that signal. If you didn't, if all you did was took out your permissions in your conversion to GDPR, if you didn't go and have the hard conversations that Jody and I had to have during that nightmarish time, I guarantee you lost business. Guaranteed.
So, well,
No question.
I was quite astonished to basically see that, because my firm belief is that if you are valuing what is valuable, important for your customers, for be it privacy, for example, then this, after some possible dip, is in all likelihood positive for you.
Thomas, you're
measuring the wrong thing.
Here's the issue. I can value privacy all day long. But if I don't change my processes, if I don't change my operations, if I don't change my strategy, if I don't actually let marketing do their damn job, and if I still measure leads that you brought into the funnel, conversions because of those leads, I dust off that old chestnut of marketing qualified leads, and that's my main attribution source, you're always going to fail. Right? Because it's the same thing that happens. Like if I were to look to you and say, okay, I want a new supply chain system, and I'm going to get this great state-of-the-art supply chain technology. It's going to revolutionise. We're going to put AI on it, and we're going to take all these things, and you don't change a single process. You just take all of your old processes and you dump them into your new technology. Are you going to be profitable?
And put an additional filter on it that weeds out a couple of other stuff that might have converted on also. I totally agree. So
right. You're not going to be profitable.
So it means this leads to the question, what needs to be done in the minds of people?
With regard to?
With regards to not seeing privacy as a problem. Because this is what my perception is behind it.
I've got one suggestion. Jody's going to have much better suggestions. But honestly, my first suggestion is have the hard conversations that we've had. Right? Because I think that part of what has gotten organizations and really great organizations to be able to leverage privacy and understand it and to really value it as signal from customer as opposed to roadblock have not had the hard conversations with the CIO and the CISO. They haven't had the hard conversations with Debbie and Bob down in compliance and risk. Right? We're still looking at privacy as a checkbox. And so then it's always going to be a roadblock. But if privacy can become something like, I don't know, an indicator of fraud, right? If we're looking at privacy measures and saying, hey, we can actually stop fraud because we're looking at these signals. Hey, but we can take that same signal and understand what a customer does want, right? So we can start to come up with better pathways to that crystal clear, high fidelity signal if we have those hard conversations with the people that are all part of this, which is going to be, certainly IT, certainly security, but also legal compliance and risk. Have that conversation about, can we make this a strategy as opposed to, does this always need to be a roadblock?
And then I would say, take that strategic discussion and leverage that internally to become an educator for everyone within the company and communicate the strategy, get everyone on board, then take it a step further and make sure that strategy is communicated properly to your external customer base, right? Let them know your story, let them know, right? Everybody has a privacy page on their website. That's not it, right? That's not what customers want to know. I could read terms and conditions all day. I could read your legalese all day, but I want to know what you think about privacy as it relates to me as a consumer. So make sure that your strategy is told in a narrative that the consumer can understand.
You took away my famous last words question.
I was a mind reader?
Yeah, we get a 30-second break.
I need one of Ralph's cards just right now for that. We took away your question.
Wait, where was my rocket, Ralph? I didn't see the rocket.
That was a rocket moment for sure.
Rocket, thank you.
There we go. Ooh, with the sound.
It basically needs both. Just wanted to say it needs both cards, the rocket and the clapping hands.
Oh, I get a double card?
Yes, yes.
Maybe a first.
It's tricky. I can't. I have just to turn them around. Yeah, well.
I feel like we need to get Ralph more cards.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I have that one in stock, such as I'm stealing Marshall's job, the friendly reminder on the time, such as, ooh, we have now 2 fabulous last words to be said.
Yeah. Well, I just thought of another one. So,
Ta-ta.
privacy is related to trust. Yeah. So, in how far where do companies get trust of their consumers? So I'm talking B2C right now. So how to get, apart from having legible terms of services and a privacy statement that does not need me to ask my lawyer what I actually read there, what can they do to achieve that? What should they do to achieve that? Starting with I just wanted to say you're pointing into the wrong. Okay, Jody.
I could see that Liz has something to say. She's like, all right, come on, bring it on. I got something.
I hear consistent delivery over time. Trust with the consumer of delivering what the customer expects in the way the customer expects to receive it, delivering value the customer actually values, delivering on those high fidelity signals, right? It's not just about what you put on a statement. It's not just about what you write and articulate. It's about consistent delivery over time. You don't just deliver it well once, you deliver it well every single time. And when you don't deliver it well, you apologize, and you apologize immediately and publicly. Right? You don't just say, oh, well, data breach, whoops. Like, that's not what you do, right? Trust can be broken in an instant, but trust is something that is durable, built over time. So it's about consistent delivery over time. Every single time, every time you engage, in every department through which you engage. That means your call center agents, your marketing channels, your sellers, everyone, the vending machine that someone bought a beverage out of. Consistent delivery over time.
And I think you bring up a really good point, Liz, and I'll leave you with these parting words, right? Here's my takeaway for the day. Are we listening? Trust cannot be built in an instant, but it can be taken away in an instant. And if you remember that, everything else will fall into place because you know it is building over time. One interaction with your organization does not mean that consumer trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ralph's losing his mind over in the corner, Jody. You like literally just.
I got a heart.
It was like a heart, and he made a squeal, and there was a thing, and it was like, yeah, it was amazing.
There's lots of clapping going on here on the LinkedIn page as well. So
All right.
Okay, that
Ladies,
is it for the day.
Okay, I just came up on my new hashtag. I'm going to go post about that one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you, guys. This was awesome. Liz, so good to see you.
Oh, so good to see you, Jody. You guys too, yeah. But Jody,
so great to have you here.
And please,
my daughter is calling me because her training ended 2 minutes ago, and I'm not delivering on time.
Oh, that is
Are you violating trust?
I just lost trust. Okay, let's go offline. Let's go backstage. See you all next time. Bye.